I do have one question that I want to answer right now that was asked to me that we'll just start it off with is that, um, my Sleep Number bed tracks heart rate variability. I've got an Aura ring. I've got a Whoop that tracks heart rate variability. Raise your hand if you've heard of heart rate variability. Okay. So, heart rate variability is a great tool that would let us know balance of your nervous system. I'm actually thinking about getting a heart rate variability scanner in here as another way for us to be able to detect the overall stress and health of an individual on top of the x-rays. But heart rate variability, you guys want to just kind of give your like nitty gritty on what is heart rate variability and why is it important?
So heart rate variability, it really should be. You shouldn't have spikes in heart rate, right? So when you wake up in the morning, a good way to determine if your body has too much of a toxic overload is that if you wake up and you rise, your heart rate shoots through the roof when you rise, or your heart's pounding early in the morning. That's a good sign that you have a high heart rate variability. Okay, and that's not a good heart rate variability. You also shouldn't be going to bed with your heart just pounding, okay? Or when you lie down and you feel a big, atrial fibrillation, feel a big hit in your chest, right? That's not good, okay? Yep, yep.
There's a few things that will destroy your heart rate variability. And here's what heart rate variability is. So you've heard of heartbeat, right? So heartbeat and heart rate variability are two different things. Heartbeat is your time, how many times your heart beats per minute. Heart rate variability is how many fluctuations that your heart will go through in a period of time. And what they find is that the more fluctuation and the higher your heart rate variability, the more adaptable and neurologically attenuated your heart and your nervous system is to stress. The lower your heart rate variability, the less likely that you are to adapt to stressful situations. Okay? And this is all neurological focus, which is why we do a lot of that testing in chiropractic because it's a great way to determine whether or not why is this little boy getting sick all the time. If your heart rate variability is very low, you can't adapt to stressors and you're going to have an altered immune system. Couple things that just crush heart rate variability: alcohol before you go to bed. If you wear an Aura ring or if you have a Whoop on and your heart rate variability score is just like, it's because you had alcohol. Because alcohol basically slows your heart rate variability. And this is where the person like gets the night sweats. You wake up, you're just super hot. You don't adapt to that kind of stuff. So really watch that before you go to bed. The other thing that'll crush heart rate variability is sleep in general. Your heart rate variability lets us know how adaptable you are to stress and how healthy an individual is. Sleep, if I get 4 hours, 5 hours of sleep, my heart rate variability goes right into the red zone. And you're going to find that if you stay there, it's just going to be this massive bombardment. So, heart rate variability, you want it to be higher. Everything that we talked about here today will help your heart rate variability. When it comes to a bed, a Sleep Number bed won't necessarily allow you to have better heart rate variability. That is a marketing tool from Sleep Number because they're smart. The only way that that will help you have a better heart rate variability is if that bed is comfortable to you. Does that make sense? So if you, like other cultures that get the best sleep and have the best health, they sleep on a mat about that thin on their back with no pillow. We have all kinds of crazy things in this world to make us have better sleep, and we get the worst sleep of any culture in on the planet. So really, what I'm saying is that what kind of bed should I have? That was another question. Whatever bed that you feel the most comfortable on is the answer to that question. Okay, bioposture's good, sleep number's good. My wife, we have had every bed under the planet. And we've ordered the most expensive chiropractic, biophysics, spinal posture, anti-flame retardant, everything. And finally, I was like, wow, this is great. I mean, this is awesome. She's like, this is horrible. I can't do this. So we went over to a mattress store on Gemini. And I'm like, you're going to lay on every mattress there is in this city. And we're going to figure out which one works best for you. And then I'll just suck it up. Right? So we went over there and we found a mattress that wasn't like, I mean, it was made in the USA, didn't have any flame retardants in it. So that was good. But it wasn't anything crazy. It didn't like, put me in like a, it didn't like vibrate me. It didn't do anything like that, but it was just, it was good. And so that's my thing on sleep, and on heart rate variability and beds. Okay, pillows. What kind of pillow? So pillows. It's really interesting. When my 6-month old lays in a crib, does he have a big pillow behind his head? What does every baby or newborn sleep on? Their back, flat. And the moment that they become big boys and big girls, we put this big massive pillow behind their head and we put them in flexion. What does that do to that poor little neck curve of theirs? It takes it out, and then we get used to it, and then we have 4 pillows stacked behind our head, and we're stacked in fight or flight. So that's why we have those sleep rolls and molds for you. 20 minutes before you hit the sleep, laying on those, relaxing your core body temperature, decreasing your neurology, getting oxygen to your brainstem through having that curve. And then once that's done, going to like as flat and neutral of a pillow as possible so your head's not in flexion. Okay, well, I've got this pillow that's got this curve in it. Well, most of those are not designed to the specifics of what a normal curve should look like. So we're doing a little bit of research on a pillow that we may introduce, but we're not going to introduce something unless we like it and try it. Okay, so it's called a Denroll pillow that's got like a device built into it that's also not uncomfortable, right? I mean, you got to sleep. So the reality is that which position should I sleep in? Whatever way you get the best sleep, right? The other question that I got the other day was, should I sleep on my back? It depends on whether or not you like to sleep on your back or not. When you go to the woods or you go into nature, do you ever see an animal sleeping like this? Why is no animal ever sleep like that? Because their guts are exposed, and so predators will come and get their guts. So what do? They do this. So we're innately in our mother's womb is really kind of how we develop our sleep patterns. My third son, he sleeps like this. Why? Because that's the way his hand was whenever he was in mom's womb. Okay? This is where he feels the most comfort. Okay? Nobody is in womb like this. Mostly. Some are. Some are. Some are butt down. Some are like belly sleepers, right? You were back in your mother's womb. So what I'm saying is that get adjusted, do the things that we ask you to do, and then whatever you want to get the most sleep, however you go to sleep is how you need to sleep. But we just like for you to lay on your back for a little bit to relax the spinal cord, relax neurology so you can calm the nervous system down before you do that. Does that make sense? Other questions? Yes, you had. Oh, I'll touch on naps. I love to nap. Some of the most influential, brilliant individuals that we've ever had in this country are big nappers. Number one, I would say don't substitute regular sleep at night for naps, okay? Because here's the deal. When the sun comes up is when we should rise. When the sun goes down is when we should go to sleep. So don't overthink it. Now, if you're only getting 4 or 5 hours of sleep during the night and taking a nap during the day to get your 7 would probably be a good idea. But if you're and here's the other thing too, if you're getting 8 hours of sleep at night and you want to take a nap in the middle of the day, listen to your body. Your body knows more than you do. So listen to what your body wants, okay? If you want to take a nap, take a nap. But don't substitute night and darkness and that regular sleep cycle for a nap. Some would say, well, I'll just nap because I'll work in the middle of the night for 3 hours, then I'll nap. I don't know. Like most of those individuals are not very healthy.
A good way to tell is if your heart rate is one speed no matter what. So a lot of the research with heart rate variability was done in elite trained military personnel that were overstressed, limited sleep, and probably in the worst conditions. And their heart rate was no matter what. sleep, night, day, exercise probably a little higher while they're moving through the day, but it was always over almost 100 beats a minute, and that was just constant. You do not want that. That is a sign of I am not recovering and I am not doing well.
But if it's constantly 65,
We want that variability. So if it's 65, but then you exercise it's a different time in the day, say it's early in the morning, that should be a little bit lower. End of the day, we want it to be lower again. But as you're walking, moving, it should fluctuate quite a bit.
So it isn't the fluctuation at night so much as fluctuation during the day.
Yeah, it's how much it fluctuates through the day.
Activity level.
Like
matter
if you were
what.
to, if you were to go to the doctor and you get an EKG, it should be like an EKG strip. You shouldn't flatline and be dead,
Okay.
right? It should be up and down.
No, I agree with that statement. Okay.
I've got one at my house. My wife did a bunch of research on it. Anybody that wants any kind of information on a red light, I can get you that. But don't just go to Amazon and look for a red light because there's a lot of knockoffs that will do absolutely nothing.
Okay.
And so Juvie light is a good one. But we actually have one that my wife did like probably 30 hours of research on. And so I will get you that information. So if you have questions about red light and you want to be emailed that, tell the girls up front and I'll just put an email together with some stuff like that.
Okay.
A cool room, research is just research. So when they're looking at just the temperature of the room, 62 to 67 is what they say. You can make yourself really hot by putting on 4 sleeping bags and whatever. You've got a temperature regulation. You've got a hormonal. You're spiking at the wrong time.
Yeah.
So you need to probably do something to like a warm, hot bath
Yeah.
before you go to bed. Something that you can do,
Yeah.
and then go into that state gently. But you're fight or flight a lot. I mean, we talked about this. Like you're a go-getter. So I don't think that the room temperature is a bad thing to do. Don't have it at 75.
Right.
You know, just getting some covers. But I do think though, as the night goes on, having a cooler room breathing is a big one, right? So if it's hot in there and you've got a bunch of stuff on and you're not breathing well, it's hot, like you're going to go into fight or flight. So I think that there's deeper things going on with
Me.
you from a hormone, thyroid, getting up in the morning. And I know you hate cold showers, but getting somewhat of a cold shower in the morning, getting some walking, getting some sunlight, doing some of this before you go to bed, I think is going to help just kind of. I'll say something and you guys can say something. We were never meant to have alarms. We're supposed to get up when the sun gets up. If you're retired and you don't have to necessarily be somewhere exactly at a specific time, I would tell you that listen to your body. Your body is way smarter than we are. So if your body needs to sleep, your body needs to sleep.
It's good to have it to be at the same time in the morning. So by optimizing your circadian rhythm and that sleep-wake cycle, it can help your body to naturally get up at the same time every morning. And yes, just like Dr. B was saying, don't use an alarm if you can get away with that. It's best to just get up when your body naturally wants to wake up.
There's some alarms out there that will actually, like, you have a dark room, right? There's some alarms that when they go off, it'll actually like light up like the sun. And so one of the worst things you could ever do to your kid, and I'm horrible at this, I'm like a Marine whenever I'm getting my kids off to school. It's like lights come on, let's go, and they're like, like it's a horrible way to wake up. I am, right? So I'm like, listen, it's 7 o'clock. I gave you 5 extra minutes. Like, we got 5 minutes, let's go. And Zeke's like, ah. So ease your way right into it. Like, just gradually increase the intensity as you go, right? Because the moment you wake up, you're in fight or flight. And it never works out well with my kids going to school whenever we start in fight or flight. And then by the time they're screaming and kicking each other in the back, it's not. So that's just a little bit of a kids wake up kind of a thing. Ease them into it. Maybe start with a lamp, or maybe just open up the shades first. Let natural light come in. Hey, buddy, time to get up for school. Like, hey, We got 5 minutes. Take your time. Over top, I'm like, listen, you got 5 minutes. 5 minutes or it's burpees. And then it's like, you know, and so just ease your way into it, is what I'm saying.
So there's good and bad to both. I mean, I would say getting exercise as soon as you get up is really beneficial in terms of just energy levels and doing something fasted if you can. But if you're doing something more intensive, like, you know, weight training or like running a marathon, maybe that's not the best thing to do. You want to get some type of like energy in there. But if you're just doing some walking, go ahead and do it fasted. That's going to be great. And then eating your first meal. But I would start that first meal between like an hour to 2 hours after you wake up. Yeah.
Yep. Is a general rule there, if you're going to do low intensity stuff like walking, like you say, you can do it fasted. That would be the absolute best way to do it. If you're going to do more weight training, resistance training, more high intensity stuff, you probably benefit from a little bit of carbohydrate and protein early in the morning before that session. That would be optimal. So.
Yeah.
But you're not going to die if you can't eat before your
Correct.
workout.
True.
Just so
Very
you
true.
know.
We're talking about optimizing
Like
things.
most people in this room are not world-class athletes, so we don't need to make sure that we're having all kinds of carbs before we go on our, you know what I mean? Like just, you know, I rarely work. I have a cup of coffee. You know, I have some water. I hydrate. So one thing I would say is in that 60-minute window before your first cup of coffee, you know, LMNT, get about, you know, get some water in you, hydrate, right? I mean, you've lost about 2 pounds over the course of night just by breathing out water. And so you're always a little bit lighter in the morning than you were before you go to bed. And so take that time to get some water, you know, go for a walk, get some sunlight, and then press the coffee pot and then go for your walk. And then when you come back, it's like Christmas, right? Like it's like Christmas. It's like something you look forward to. It's like, man, I can't wait to get back for the coffee. I mean, it's great, you know. I love coffee. It's like I wake up, I grind it, I get ready. I'm like, man, I can't not wait to drink you in the morning. It's gonna be great. I don't have a great answer besides I don't look like when you look at an animal in the wild, because really we're pretty similar with our mannerisms. Okay, we're not animals, but you get what I'm saying, right? So I don't think animals think about it. Like they go to bed and they sleep the way that they want to sleep based upon where they want to be at versus comfort. Having your arms above your head, I don't know, maybe it could irritate some of this, but it's where the body feels the most comfortable. So forcing yourself to sleep in a position that we think might be better could also be worse than you sleeping the way that your body feels comfortable sleeping. We can't put everybody in a box and say, well, this is what science says that most people can sleep best at, so everybody needs to sleep like that. I would just say, listen to your body, do the things that you need to do in the morning and at night, and let the chips fall where they fall. Does that make sense? And here's the thing. If your spine's in a good spot, you're getting adjusted, you're doing these things, sleep position shouldn't matter, right? Most of you sleep in a bad position because your back hurts, right? You're like, oh, my back hurts when I sleep on that side. That's a problem. Fix your back, right? If your back wasn't in a bad spot, then you could really kind of sleep however you want. That should not even be a variable that we think about. Most of you are like, well, if I put my leg over this way, I can't because I don't have the hip range of motion. So I got to go over here and I can't sleep well. Those are the things that I think we should be focusing on. I'll do a little bit more research on that because my son does that. I do that every once in a while. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I'm dreaming that I'm on a beach somewhere. I don't know. So maybe it's a good thing. I don't know.
As far as the lying on your left side, by the way, so a lot of that was designed and talked about in regards to like acid reflux, and then also heart rate and variability. So if you have a good heart rate variability and you're not eating 2 to 3 hours before bed, you really don't have it. Really becomes unimportant at that point. You know what I'm saying? So that was designed in a certain way to kind of mitigate the effects of like having a full stomach when you go to bed, having acid reflux. If you're taking care of those other aspects of not eating 2 to 3 hours before bed, taking care of your heart health, all others, so you're not very stressed, you have a high heart rate variability, that's going to become that less important, really. So
Okay, yeah, that makes better sense. What I was trying to say was that like doing this was an article that was done that people sleeping like this, they can better control their acid reflux. So that is a bumper lane. Like that is bumpers in your bumper lane. Fix why you have acid reflux and sleep the way you want to sleep. Right? Doctors recommend melatonin. My kid's not sleeping and he's 8. Melatonin. Listen to this.
So that is a great question. But your melatonin should be regulated by all of the things that we just talked about. So the fact that we mentioned before that your cortisol should spike in the morning and that kickstarts the beginnings of your melatonin production, it should be like complete by the night rolls around and you're ready to go to bed. If you have dysregulation of your circadian rhythm and your light cycles are technically off, um, then that's going to dysregulate your melatonin production. I wouldn't recommend that because it's just ultimately masking the symptoms. So sometimes you don't even get to go into REM sleep by taking that melatonin because it's artificial. And then have you ever woke up the next day and felt a little more groggy after taking that melatonin, even though maybe you slept those 8 hours that you're supposed to? That's why.
Yeah, melatonin is kind of like a cortisone shot.
Yeah.
You feel really good, but you didn't fix anything, and then you're able to do a lot of things that you weren't able to do before. But then when it wears off, really bad stuff happens.
and you feel like that in the morning because if you take artificial melatonin, your body's going to downregulate its own production. So now you're not going to produce it, and your body says, "Okay, I have this source coming in from somewhere else. I don't need to produce it." So in that case, when you wake up, all that artificial melatonin, your body and your liver have cleared it out. It's gone, and then your body is also in a state of I don't need to produce it. So then you have none, and then consequently you don't have. It's going to downregulate cortisol too. So you're just going to feel bad, and you can't do that long term. And it ultimately is a crutch. And then when you stop, you have to let your body kind of re-regulate that.
Yeah.
So why begin in the first place?
Yeah,
So
this is
that
why
was-
it's dangerous with kids. That's why it's dangerous for kids to be on melatonin like that.
Yeah.
So.
Ashwagandha, it really helps with the overall amount of time that we're sleeping. So, in conjunction with the other things that helps with quality of sleep, ashwagandha is going to be able to help with the amount of time that we sleep, and it's not going to dysregulate your melatonin production at all.
our body also doesn't have a natural production of ashwagandha.
Yes.
So there's no upregulating, downregulating. Ashwagandha is just in a class of its own called an adaptogen. It will actually bind to these other minerals here. So you get the magnesium glycinate and the GABA L-theanine. It will actually bind to those and increase the effects of those. It's not going to dysregulate any process within the body.
Yeah,
So-
this is why SSRIs are extremely dangerous. This is why melatonin is extremely dangerous. Why? Because they're naturally supposed to be produced and regulated within the body. And so they're a class of drugs that whenever you artificially put that in, you can create some pretty serious side effects because of it. Ashwagandha it's something that you don't produce naturally. It's a true supplementation that can help these processes become better. Does that make sense? Can we reverse sleep apnea? That is a great question. We can. So this is something. Yes, the answer is no, because we don't treat sleep apnea, right? What we do as chiropractors is that we remove interferences that are causing the production of sleep apnea, right? So sleep apnea is not something that you're born with. It's not something that's genetic. It's not something that you have a predisposition for. It is a created issue that through chiropractic, through weight optimization, metabolic re-regulation, supplementation, we have seen tremendous improvement with it. But sleep apnea is not one thing. It is a multitude of things coming together that wearing a mask will not fix. So, did I answer that question? Because I got to be careful with saying we turn babies head down. I got to be careful with that because we see those things, but we don't treat those. As chiropractors, we can't technically say that we treat anything, but we do remove the interferences that would ultimately cause that problem.
When you're wearing, the sleep apnea device, and when your body's in a state of apnea and it remembers that, okay, when I sleep, I'm going to go to state of apnea. I'm going to keep waking up because I'm losing that oxygen. That becomes a learned response in the hippocampus of your brain. So as far as relearning how your body needs to be, getting those neurological connections out of the hippocampus, doing adjustments, making the lifestyle changes, we can reverse the apnea and kind of return to baseline, right? So that's what we want. So it's multifactorial. There's things that need to be changed as far as lifestyle. There's other things, adjustments. This is a huge. Sleep apnea is a large issue, right? There's 6, 7, 8 different factors, and we can address all of those and slowly reverse it. Yeah, absolutely.
So mouth taping, right? So this is actually really good. Sleep apnea is a lot of because of open mouth breathers. We're actually not supposed to be breathing through our mouths. We're actually supposed to be breathing through our nose. A lot of kids nowadays, you can see kids and their palates are not expanding. And when their palates are not expanding, you're seeing more and more kids get put in palate expanders. Braces should never have to happen on teeth. If the palate were to naturally expand the way that it should, if a child should breathe through the nose, if a child's cranium and upper cervical is adjusted, the palate should expand, and we should be tongue at the roof of the mouth closed, breathing in through our nose, out through our nose effectively. And that is how our body begins to regulate oxygen and drive oxygen into the brain for restful sleep and circadian sleep rhythm. So mouth taping is a way to force and allow your body and your hippocampus to relearn, this is the way that I'm supposed to breathe. So at night before you go to bed, I would say my sons and I will have them do it like a half hour before bed. So if you wanted to watch football and she was talking a lot, maybe you could do it like an hour before bed and just tell her it's just to get you used to the tape.
I'm the one that wants to watch.
Oh, okay, yeah, great. So I'm just going to get you used to the tape for a little bit, which is true. So that way you don't go to bed and you just have no idea how to do it. Because for some of you've never learned how to breathe through your nose. And this is why on the vibe plate, you might hear me say, off your cell phone, close your mouth, box breathing, in for 4 to 8, out for 4 to 8, in through your nose. It's going to help increase oxygen. When you have that head weight on, when you've got that neurological, a tone going, that's the best time to work on your breathing.
From a little bit more personal experience, I felt like I was kind of doing everything right. And then if you have any type of septal issues or breathing problems at night, like I know I do, I wasn't understanding why I was feeling so tired throughout the day after trying to optimize my sleep and everything like that until using mouth tape, unless obviously surgery's not really the option I want to go down. It kind of forces you to breathe through your nose, and that can be really helpful. So just from, again, personal experience and then understanding why that's important, why I was feeling so tired, it can help anybody that might have that type of issue too.
Yeah, and if you've got a broken nose, or you've busted your nose 4 or 5 times and you've got a deviated septum, I mean, there's just, you have a breathing issue.
Yeah.
And there's only so much you can do, but there are, and we don't have this, technology as of yet, but there are some technology or some techniques out there where they actually stick a balloon up into your nose, and then they'll actually expand that balloon, which will improve and increase the sinus pressure. So there's some really cool things that we can do that are, we don't do those, but I'm just saying there's other things that we can do that are out there. So you're looking at a very traditional way to look at sleep, right? A medical doctor looking at a sleep study, right? So we're going to put somebody who has not good sleep, we're going to track their sleep over the course of a night, and hey, wouldn't you know it, you don't get good sleep, you actually woke up 15 million times, and so therefore you're a great candidate for a CPAP machine. Great. big Band-Aid on a boo-boo. So here's the point, is that I could put most of us in a sleep study, and most of you are going to fail it. And most of you are going to be a candidate for a CPAP machine. The reality is, though, is that a CPAP machine is never going to find the root cause as to why that person doesn't sleep well. Now, we can't make that decision. We can't, whatever. Sleep is important. Some people are like, listen, I just don't sleep. And I can't sleep. Sleep is more important than no sleep. So I can't tell you what to do. I just say that's a medical model's way of saying, let's figure out why you don't sleep. And a chiropractor way would say, well, let's look at all the things that you're doing in your lifestyle that could be affecting neurology and creating those circadian sleep rhythm issues and sympathetic dominance. And then let's begin to remove those first. Let's see how you do now on that sleep study before I give you a CPAP machine that would ultimately just cover up a big problem. Because I could sleep good with a CPAP, but not really, and then create metabolic dysfunction, cancer, because of those issues.